I never thought I'd tell this story. It's been years now, but every time I think about it, the feelings come rushing back like it just happened yesterday. It all started when I was 28, married for 3 years and deeply in love, or at least I thought I was. My husband, James, and I had met in college, fell head over heels for each other, and built what I thought was a solid life together. But as you'll find out, things weren't as perfect as I believed. I need to take you back to when it all began, to a moment I can't forget. I was 8 months pregnant with our daughter, Emily. Pregnancy hadn't been easy for me. Morning sickness, fatigue, body aches, you name it, I had it. And James, he was supportive, at least on the surface. He'd bring me ginger tea when I was sick, rub my feet when I couldn't stand, and tell me how excited he was to meet our baby. But looking back now, there was a distance growing between us that I ignored. One night, James came home late. He said he'd been out with friends, celebrating a promotion at work. I remember sitting on the couch, swollen feet propped up, waiting for him to come home. When he walked through the door, he smelled faintly of perfume, something floral and sweet, nothing like my vanilla-scented lotion. "Who were you with?" I asked casually, not wanting to seem suspicious. "Just the guys," he said, dropping his keys on the counter. His tone was normal, almost too normal. I told myself I was imagining things. After all, I was hormonal and insecure about my changing body. I didn't want to seem like the crazy, paranoid wife. But now I know that moment was the first crack in the facade of our marriage. Fast forward to a year later. Emily was a bubbly, 1-year-old with a smile that could light up the darkest room. I had thrown myself into motherhood, putting everything else, my career, my friendships, even my relationship with James, on the back burner. I was exhausted all the time, but I thought it was worth it. James, on the other hand, seemed to be thriving. He was working late more often, going on weekend business trips, and spending hours at the gym. I didn't question it. I thought he was just trying to provide for us, to be the best husband and father he could be. I didn't realize he was building an entirely separate life. The truth came out on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed with a notification, a text from an unknown number. "You deserve to know the truth about James." My heart sank. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. I didn't want to respond, but curiosity got the better of me. "Who is this?" I typed back. The reply came almost instantly. "Someone who's been where you are. Check his messages. Check his pictures. You'll see." I felt like I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened as I picked up James' iPad, which was synced to his phone. I opened his messages, and there it was, a series of texts between him and a woman named Mia. "Can't wait to see you tonight. You're the best thing in my life. I wish I could wake up next to you every day." I scrolled further and found pictures, selfies of them at a restaurant, at the beach, in a hotel room. My hands shook so violently I dropped the iPad. When James came home that evening, I confronted him. I'll never forget the look on his face, half shock, half resignation. He didn't even try to deny it. "Yes," he said, his voice calm, almost detached. "I've been seeing her. Her name is Mia." I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. "Why, James? Why would you do this to me? To our family?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You really want to know?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "She's everything you used to be," he said. "She's fun, spontaneous, easygoing. She doesn't nag me or argue with me. She doesn't make me feel like I'm failing all the time. When I'm with her, I feel free." His words cut deeper than the affair itself. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a complete dismantling of who I thought I was. I had given up so much for him, for our family, and he saw me as nothing more than a burden. I thought that was the worst of it, but I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, more details came to light. Mia wasn't the first. James had been unfaithful multiple times, starting when I was pregnant. The first was a one-night stand with a stranger. Then there was another woman and another until he met Mia, who became a constant in his life. When I asked him why he kept going back to her, he said, "Because she's simple. She doesn't complicate my life like you do." I was devastated. I started to question everything, our marriage, my worth, my entire life. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. But the final blow came when I found out that Mia knew about me. She knew James was married, knew we had a child, and she didn't care. I wanted to hate her, but the truth is, I envied her. She had taken the best parts of James, the parts I thought belonged to me. The breaking point came one night when James didn't come home. He didn't call, didn't text, nothing. I stayed up all night, pacing the living room, wondering if he was with her. When he finally walked through the door the next morning, I asked him if he loved her. He looked at me, his eyes cold and distant, and said, "I don't know. Maybe." That was it. That was the moment I realized our marriage was over. I filed for divorce the next day. The process was long and painful, but it was also liberating. For the first time in years, I started focusing on myself, on what I wanted, on what made me happy. It's been 5 years now. James and I co-parent Emily, but our relationship is strictly business. As for Mia, she didn't stick around. James tried to win me back after she left him, but by then, it was too late. I've moved on, but the scars are still there. I share this story not for sympathy, but because I know I'm not the only one. If you've been through something similar, just know you're not alone.